The Austro-Hungarian Empire was one of the most important European powers of the 19th century, which reached an expansion of 670,000 km², with a population of more than 52 million inhabitants, and occupied a large part of Central Europe, as well as part of the Balkans and Eastern Europe. This great empire will always be remembered as one of the cultural and artistic centers of Europe during its peak. Before we continue, I would like you to understand three characteristics of the empire. 1. It was an absolutist empire. That is, in its beginnings, the power was centralized based on the emperor, something they had to gradually give up. 2. It was multi-ethnic. That is, it was made up of various minorities such as Czechs, Italians, Ukrainians, Romanians, Croatians, among others, who in turn presented different cultures, religions, and languages. 3. Therefore, the empire was characterized by a constant instability during its short duration due to the wave of nationalisms that led to more than one revolution, of which I better speak later to avoid spoilers. But, well, to understand the birth of every great empire, we have to look at the historical background that led to its formation. And to tell the truth, this is the continuation of the Austrian Empire, which in turn detached itself from the Holy Roman Germanic Empire, which, by the way, we have already talked about on this channel in another video. In this video, we'll discuss the Austrian Empire. If you haven't seen it, you can click above. Returning to the subject, Austria was a significant archduchy of the Holy Empire, ruled predominantly by the House of Habsburg. With the rise of Napoleon's First French Empire, Austria was promoted to an empire. During the following decades, the empire had to face various revolutions, such as those of 1848, caused by the already mentioned nationalisms of the various ethnic groups of the empire. While Austria was able to generally confront the revolutions, it suffered an eventual defeat during the Second Italian War of Independence in 1859, where the Kingdom of Sardinia annexed Lombardy, paving the way for Italian unification. But the straw that broke the camel's back was the defeat during the Austro-Prussian War of 1866 during German unification, in which Vienna was excluded from maintaining influence over the newly created Confederation. However, not everything was so disastrous for Austria. As if they lose influence with the northern Germans, they strengthen it in Eastern Europe, which, by the way, was favored by the decline of the Ottoman Empire in the Balkans, who were already nicknamed the Sick Man of Europe. So, in a diplomatic attempt to appease the wave of nationalisms, and also due to pressure from the Hungarians themselves, the largest ethnic minority in the empire, the dual monarchy is created. During the Austro-Hungarian Compromise of 1867, which was basically the merger of both states, thus giving rise to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, with Franz Joseph I of Austria as emperor, who had actually already begun his mandate in the Austrian Empire since 1848. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay updated with more content. And what do we mean by dual monarchy? Well, it was essentially a system of government, where the emperor was both the Emperor of Austria and King of Hungary, although for administrative purposes, each was governed independently with their own parliaments. However, on matters of national defense and foreign relations, the empire acted as a single entity. Geographically speaking, the territory was basically divided into two regions: Cisleithania, which covered the current territory of Austria, and parts of Bosnia, Croatia, Czech Republic, Italy, Montenegro, Romania, Slovenia, and Ukraine, and the region of Transleithania, which covered the current Hungary, plus the territories that belonged to it at that time, and are now part of Romania, Slovakia, Croatia, and Serbia. Another standout feature was the evident inequality in the empire. While the cities of Vienna, Budapest, and Prague stood out for the high quality of life of their inhabitants and constant modernization, the rest of the empire, especially the areas of ethnic minorities, were economically backward and anchored to old agricultural structures. As you can imagine, this generated even more discontent among the population and further fueled nationalism. Well, returning to the story, the first conflict that the empire would face would be in the bailiwick of Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1878, where the Austro-Hungarians defeated the already weakened, who were facing another war with the Russians simultaneously. With this, they would exert total influence over the created province of Bosnia and Herzegovina, backed by Germany at the Berlin Congress, with whom they would sign a defense alliance in 1882, to which Italy joined. The above generated the suspicion of Serbia and Russia, who in the full swing of pan-Slavism believed that they should have influence over the rest of the Slavic states. So it could be said that with this, the diplomatic tensions would begin that, spoiler alert, would end in something catastrophic. In 1889, the heir to the throne, Rudolf of Habsburg, was found dead presumably after having committed suicide, which, like everything in history, is a matter of debate, as some claim he was murdered by a political conspiracy. But the relevant thing here is that the new heir to the throne would be Franz Ferdinand of Austria, nephew of Franz Joseph, and who had more liberal ideas than his uncle, such as the creation of the United States of Austria, to seek the decentralization of the empire. And here it is important to remember this fact. Recall when I said Bosnia's Austro-Hungarian influence was a hit to pan-Slavism? Well, this was even more intensified when Franz Joseph annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina as part of the empire in 1908. But there's more. To further infuriate Serbia, Austria-Hungary showed its support for the Ottoman Empire in the First Balkan War, where the Turks faced Serbia along with the Balkan League. Serbian resentment was embodied in the assassination of heir Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie Chotek, at the hands of young nationalist Gavrilo Princip in 1914, which would trigger the start of World War I, which was basically like this. Austria-Hungary accuses the Serbian government because the young assassin allegedly belonged to the Serbian terrorist organization Black Hand, so it issues an ultimatum that was rejected by Serbia. In response to this, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia and begins its invasion after a month. Russia, for its part, comes to the defense of Serbia and declares war on the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and so on. The powers were declaring war, according to the alliances previously formed. Austria-Hungary would fight on various fronts, such as the eastern one, where they defeated the Russians after the 1917 revolution began. Despite the above, on the Balkan front, where they began with certain victories over the Serbs, they could not face the Allies, to whom the Romanians and Greeks later joined. But the decisive front was the Italian one, where Italy, supposed ally of the Central Powers, changes sides in support of the Allies and manages to defeat the Austro-Hungarians in the Battle of Vittorio Veneto, which would seal the definitive defeat of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was largely due to both a lack of cohesion of the army troops and a gradual military and economic exhaustion that did not allow them to continue with the war. The defeat in World War I would mean the end of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, as well as the end of the House of Habsburg, with Charles I of Austria as the last emperor, who had succeeded Francis Joseph I upon his death in 1916. The dismemberment of the empire would be embodied in the Treaty of Saint-Germain, and from this new independent nations would emerge. German Austria would be the successor state, which would be a separate entity from the Kingdom of Hungary. The countries that would gain their independence would be Czechoslovakia and the Kingdom of Fiume, which would be annexed to Italy after a few years, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. Future Yugoslavia would also be created, where Serbia annexes present-day Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Macedonia. On the other hand, significant territories are ceded to Romania, Italy, and the newly created Polish and Ukrainian republics. So the once powerful Austrian Empire went from 675,000 kilometers to 83,000 kilometers in two, with no more nationalist revolutions to face as the various ethnic groups achieved their long-awaited independence. If you liked this video, don't forget to support me with a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel to stay updated with more content. See you next time! Thanks for watching the video.